Have you ever waited for someone? I do not mean waiting for a friend at a coffee shop for 10 minutes. I mean waiting for a person to come back to your life. Waiting for a love that walked away. When someone you love leaves you, time feels very different. Days feel like weeks. Weeks feel like years. You leave a light on in the window. You keep your phone close to you, just in case they call. You tell yourself, he will come back. He just needs time. But how long should you wait? 1 year? 5 years? Forever? And what happens if, when they finally do come back, you are no longer the person who was waiting? This is a story about closing a door, so a new one can open. I would like to ask you, do you believe in second chances, or do you believe that some doors should stay closed? Please share your thoughts in the comments. My name is Julia, and for a long time, I was the girl who waited. My story with Daniel was the kind of love story you read about in books. We met when we were very young, just 20 years old. He was wild and free and full of big dreams. I was quiet, steady, and I loved him with everything I had. We were opposites, but we fit together perfectly. Or at least I thought we did. We spent 4 years together. We traveled. We laughed. We planned a future. I thought we would get married. I thought we would grow old together in a house by the sea. But Daniel was like the wind. He could not stay in one place. He started to feel trapped by our normal, happy life. He wanted more adventures. He wanted to be free. One rainy evening in November, he packed his bag. It was a small bag, but it carried my whole heart inside it. He stood at the door and he looked at me. He did not look sad. He looked restless. "Julia," he said, "I need to go. I need to find myself. I feel like I am suffocating here. I need to see the world." I begged him to stay. I cried. I told him we could see the world together. But he shook his head. "No," he said. "I need to do this alone. Don't wait for me." But his eyes said something different. His eyes said, "I might come back." And because I loved him so much, I held on to that small, silent hope. He walked out the door, into the rain, and he did not look back. For the first year, I was a ghost in my own life. I went to work, I ate, I slept. But I was not really living. I was just waiting. I checked my phone every hour. I checked his social media to see where he was. He was in Bali. He was in Peru. He was in places I had only dreamed of. He looked happy in the photos. He looked free. And I was here, in our apartment, surrounded by the ghosts of our memories. I kept his clothes in the closet. I kept his favorite mug in the kitchen. I was preserving a museum of a dead relationship. My friends tried to help me. "Julia, you have to move on," they would say. "He is gone. He is selfish. He left you." I knew they were right, but my heart was stubborn. I thought, if I move on, if I change anything, then he won't have a home to come back to. So I stayed the same. I kept my hair the same way he liked it. I wore the perfume he bought me. I was frozen in time, a statue waiting for her sculptor to return. But time, slowly and quietly, began to do its work. The sharp pain of his absence started to become a dull ache. The tears stopped falling every day. I started to get angry. Why was I wasting my life waiting for a man who chose to leave me? Why was I pausing my story while he was writing new chapters in his? I realized that I deserved to be happy too. Not in the future, when he decided to return, but now. I started to make small changes. I packed his clothes into boxes and gave them to charity. It was hard, but it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I painted the apartment a new color, a bright, happy blue. I cut my hair short. I started to take a pottery class. I started to say yes when my friends invited me out. I was slowly waking up from a long, sad sleep. 3 years passed. 3 years is a long time. I was a different person. I was stronger. I was independent. I had built a new life, a life that did not have a Daniel-shaped hole in the middle of it. I was happy. I still thought of him sometimes, but with a distant, quiet sadness, not a burning pain. And then it happened. It was a Tuesday evening, a rainy November night, almost exactly 3 years after he left. I was in my kitchen, making dinner. The house was warm and smelled of garlic and herbs. I heard a knock on the door. I was not expecting anyone. I wiped my hands on a towel and walked to the door. I opened it, and there he was, Daniel. He looked different. He had a beard now. His skin was tanned from the sun of many different countries, but his eyes were the same. Those blue, intense eyes that used to make my heart melt. He was wet from the rain. He was standing on my doormat holding a backpack, looking at me like no time had passed at all. He smiled. It was his old, charming smile. The smile that used to fix everything. "Hi, Julia," he said, his voice soft. "I'm back." He stood there, waiting. He expected me to cry. He expected me to throw my arms around him. He expected the girl he left behind, the girl who was waiting. He thought he could just walk back into my life and pick up the story where he left it. He thought I was alone, but he was wrong. I stood in the doorway, my hand tight on the doorknob. The rain was falling hard behind Daniel, making a loud, drumming sound on the pavement. He was standing there, wet and shivering, with his charming smile and his eyes full of expectation. He looked like a lost puppy that had finally found its way home. He expected me to open the door wide. He expected me to say, "Oh, Daniel, thank God you are back." He expected the Julia from 3 years ago. But I was not that Julia. The woman standing in the doorway was not shaking with happiness. I was standing very still. I looked at him, and I felt strange. I did not feel the old, electric love. I did not feel the terrible, crushing pain of his leaving. I just felt a quiet, heavy shock. It was like looking at a photograph from a very long time ago. He was familiar, but he did not belong in my present. He belonged in a box in the attic. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice a little unsure now because I was not moving. "It's really cold out here, Julia, and I have so much to tell you. I have missed you every single day." He took a step forward, assuming I would step back to let him in. It was a habit. He moved, and I adjusted. That was how our relationship always worked. But this time, I did not move. I stayed right where I was, blocking the entrance to my warm, happy home. "You left, Daniel," I said. My voice was calm. It did not tremble. "You walked away. You said you needed to be alone." He looked surprised by my tone. He ran a hand through his wet hair. "I know," he said, his voice full of emotion. "I know I hurt you, and I am sorry. But I had to do it. I had to go out into the world to realize what I had. I traveled to all these amazing places, but I was always looking for you. I realized that you are my home, Julia. You are my adventure." He reached out to touch my face. His hand was cold and wet. I flinched and pulled my head back. His hand dropped to his side. He looked hurt. "Julia," he whispered, "don't be like this. I'm back. We can start again. We can pick up right where we left off." "We can't," I said, "because I am not there anymore. You left me at the station, Daniel. But the train didn't stop. I kept moving." He laughed a little, a nervous laugh. "I know you are hurt," he said. "I know it will take time. But I am here now. I am ready to commit. I am ready to be the man you wanted." He was not listening. He was only hearing his own story. The story where he is the hero who returns. He did not see me. He did not see the new paint on the walls behind me. He did not smell the garlic and herbs cooking in the kitchen. He did not sense the peace in the house. He only saw the space he thought belonged to him. "You don't understand," I started to say. But before I could finish, a voice came from inside the house. A warm, deep, and familiar voice. "Jules? Honey? Is everything okay? The pasta is ready." Daniel's face froze. The charming smile dropped. His eyes went wide. He looked over my shoulder, into the hallway. Footsteps approached. And then he appeared next to me. Leo. Leo was not like Daniel. He was not wild or restless. He was tall and strong and kind. He was wearing a silly apron that said, "Kiss the cook." He was holding a wooden spoon. He looked at me, his eyes full of concern, and then he looked at the wet stranger on the doorstep. He did not look angry. He just looked protective. He put his arm around my waist, a natural, easy movement. It was a gesture of belonging. "Who is this?" Leo asked, his voice calm. I looked at Daniel. He was staring at Leo's arm around my waist. He looked like he had been punched in the stomach. The reality was crashing down on him. The movie in his head, where I sat by the window for 3 years waiting for him, was suddenly over. "This is Daniel," I said to Leo. He used to live here, a long time ago." Leo nodded. He knew the story. He knew about the man who broke my heart. He knew about the scars I carried. He tightened his hold on me just a little. "I see," Leo said. He looked at Daniel. "Can I help you with something?" Daniel could not speak. He looked from Leo to me to the warm, lit hallway behind us. He saw the life I had built. A life that did not include him. A life that was full and happy and complete without him. Daniel stammered. "I thought..." He looked at me with eyes full of a new kind of pain. "You didn't wait." "No, Daniel," I said softly. "I didn't wait. Life is too short to wait for someone who isn't sure they want to be there." The rain seemed to get louder. Daniel stood there, wet and alone on the doorstep. He looked small. The grand romantic gesture, the return of the prodigal lover, had failed. He was just a stranger interrupting our dinner. He looked at the warmth inside, the warmth he had thrown away, and he realized he could not just walk back in and take it. The key he thought he had, it didn't fit the lock anymore. The silence on the porch was heavy. 3 people, 3 stories colliding in one moment. The rain continued to fall, soaking Daniel's clothes, but he didn't seem to notice. He was only looking at me, his eyes searching for something he couldn't find. He was searching for the girl who used to need him, but she wasn't there. "I made a mistake," Daniel whispered. His voice cracked. It wasn't the confident voice of a traveler anymore. It was the voice of a man who realized he had lost the most important thing. I thought we were forever, Julia. I thought you knew that." I shook my head slowly. "Forever isn't about leaving when things get too normal," I said gently. "Forever is staying. Forever is building a life day by day. You wanted an adventure, Daniel, and you got it. But while you were looking for yourself out there, I found myself right here." I looked up at Leo. He was watching Daniel with a serious expression, but he didn't say anything unkind. He just stood there, solid and real. With Leo, love wasn't a roller coaster. It wasn't a constant question of will he stay or will he go. It was simple. It was coffee in the morning. It was fixing the leaky faucet. It was cooking dinner together on a rainy Tuesday. It was peace. And I realized in that moment just how much I loved that peace. "You should go, Daniel," I said. It wasn't an angry command. It was a simple fact. "We are having dinner." Daniel looked at Leo again, and then back at me. A flash of the old competitive Daniel appeared. "Does he know you like I do?" he asked, his voice bitter. "Does he know your favorite song? Does he know you're afraid of thunder? Does he know you dream of painting?" Leo spoke before I could. "I know she likes jazz in the morning and silence at night," he said calmly. "I know she hates thunder, so we build a fort in the living room when it storms. And I know she doesn't just dream of painting. She is a painter. She has a studio in the back room now. I built the shelves for her." I looked at Leo, surprised and touched. He didn't just know me, he supported me. He helped me make my dreams real, while Daniel only knew them as abstract ideas. Daniel looked defeated. He took a step back, off the doormat, into the rain. The reality was undeniable. He hadn't just lost me to another man. He had lost me to a better life. Daniel started, but he didn't know what to say. He gripped the straps of his backpack. "I guess I should have called." "Yes," I said. "You should have. But it wouldn't have changed anything. This isn't about you coming back too late. It's about me moving forward." He nodded slowly. The charm was gone. The arrogance was gone. He was just a wet, sad man standing in the rain. "I'm sorry, Julia," he said, "for everything. I hope you're happy." "I am," I said. "I really am." He turned around. He walked down the path, his head down, the rain soaking his backpack. He walked past my new car, past the flower bed Leo and I had planted in the spring. He walked out of my life again. But this time, I wasn't watching him leave with a broken heart. I wasn't wondering if he would turn back. I was watching him leave with a sense of closure. The door that I had kept slightly open for 3 years, I finally closed it, and I locked it. I turned back to Leo. He was still looking at me, a question in his eyes. "Are you okay?" he seemed to ask without words. I smiled at him, a real, full smile. "The pasta is going to get cold," I said. Leo smiled back, the tension leaving his shoulders. "We can't have that," he said. He stepped back to let me in, and then he closed the front door firmly against the wind and the rain. The sound of the latch clicking shut was the most satisfying sound I had ever heard. We went back into the kitchen. The smell of the food was warm and comforting. We sat down at the table. It was just a normal Tuesday dinner, but it felt like a celebration of us, a celebration of the present. "Are you okay?" Leo asked quietly, pouring me a glass of water. "I'm better than okay," I answered honestly. "I feel light." For a long time, I think a small part of me was still that girl waiting by the window. I thought I needed him to come back to prove that I was worth coming back for. But tonight, seeing him, I realized I didn't need him to validate me. I didn't need his apology to be happy. I just needed to see that what we had was a memory, and what I have with you is real. Leo reached across the table and took my hand. His hand was warm and rough from his work. It was a hand I could trust. "I'm not going anywhere, Julia," he said, "unless we're going together." "I know," I said. And I did. I knew it in my bones. We ate our dinner, talking about our day, about work, about the leak in the roof we needed to fix. Normal, boring, beautiful things. The ghost of Daniel, the ghost of my past, was gone. He had come back to claim a life that no longer existed. He found a house that was no longer his home. And I found out that the scariest thing, the person you loved returning, was actually the final step in healing. 5 years have passed since that rainy Tuesday night. 5 years since Daniel stood on my doorstep and I closed the door on my past. Time is a funny thing. When I was waiting for Daniel, time moved so slowly, like a heavy river full of mud. But now, with Leo, time moves like a beautiful song. It flows, and it dances, and every year feels like a gift. My life is very different now. I'm not just a girl with a dream of painting. I am an artist. Last month, I had my first big exhibition in a gallery in the city. The gallery was full of people, full of light, and full of my colors. There was one painting that everyone stopped to look at. It was called The Open Door. It showed a warm, bright hallway with a man standing inside, holding a wooden spoon, and a dark, rainy night outside. It was the moment I chose my life. It was the moment I realized that love is not about who comes back. It is about who never leaves. Leo was there at the gallery, of course. He was wearing a nice suit, but he still looked like my Leo, strong, kind, and solid. He was holding our daughter, Sophie. She is 2 years old, and she has his smile and my eyes. He walked around the room showing Sophie the paintings. "Look," he whispered to her. "Mommy made that. Isn't she amazing?" He wasn't jealous of my success. He was the one who built the frames for my canvases. He was the one who took care of Sophie on the weekends so I could paint. He was the wind under my wings, not an anchor holding me down. I saw Daniel one more time, but not in person. About a year after he came to my door, I received a postcard. It had a picture of a mountain in Nepal. The message was short. It said, "Julia, I am still traveling. I am still looking for what I am missing. I hope you found what you were looking for. You deserve it. D." I held the postcard in my hand. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I just felt a quiet understanding. Daniel was a searcher. He thought happiness was a place on a map. He thought he could find himself if he just went far enough away. He didn't understand that you take yourself with you wherever you go. If you are empty in New York, you will be empty in Nepal. I put the postcard in a drawer. I didn't need to put it on the fridge. It wasn't part of my life. It was just a hello from a ghost. Later that night, after the art show, we were back in our house. The same house, but it was fuller now. Toys on the floor, paintings on the walls, the smell of life everywhere. I sat on the porch with Leo. The sky was clear, full of stars. No rain tonight. You were happy tonight, Leo said, taking my hand. I was, I answered. I am. I looked at him. You know, Leo, I used to think love was about grand gestures, about dramatic goodbyes and passionate reunions. I thought it had to hurt to be real. I thought if I wasn't waiting, I wasn't loving. Leo smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. And now? Now I know that's not love. That's just drama, I said. Love is boring sometimes. Love is paying the bills. Love is watching TV on the sofa. Love is you making me pasta when I'm tired. Love is staying. Leo kissed my hand. I like boring, he said. I like staying. I thought about the girl I used to be. The girl who sat by the window for 3 years, checking her phone, freezing her life for a man who chose to leave. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to tell her, stop waiting. He isn't the hero of this story. You are. We often think that moving on means forgetting. But I didn't forget Daniel. I didn't forget the pain. I used it. I painted it. I learned from it. I learned that I am worth more than a maybe. I am worth a definitely. I learned that I don't need to be saved. I just needed to be loved by someone who understood the value of being there. Daniel came back, but I wasn't alone. And that is the most important part of the story. Not because I had a new man, but because I had found myself. Even if Leo hadn't been there that night, even if I was standing in that doorway completely by myself, I still would not have let Daniel in. Because my heart was full. It was full of my own dreams, my own peace, and my own strength. Life is too short to wait for someone to realize you are special. The right person knows it from the very first moment, and they never, ever make you wait. I found my forever, not in a promise from the past, but in the reality of today. And today is beautiful. If this story about self-worth and real love resonated with you, please give this video a like. Have you ever realized that a boring love is actually the best kind of love? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more emotional English stories that help you learn and feel, please be sure to follow our channel.